the Excel application. Just clicked on.
Yeah, we can do it.
Okay. Okay, so welcome to this is supposed to be the second segment of the Excel training for beginners, Excel tutorials for beginners. Excel is a spreadsheet application. It is really easy to use if you can understand it. Don't be scared of Excel. Get to know Excel, and it will help you to make a lot of tedious work easier to manage. You would all agree with me that when we have to work on tables, most times, because of how critical working with tables can be, it demands a lot of concentration, and it becomes really tedious if you're trying to do table work in text applications like MS Word. Excel automates a lot of processes. Okay, so for those who have just joined us for the first time, I will start all over again. Okay, very quickly, I will just review what we did yesterday. I will carry on from there. This training will last for 1 hour tops. Okay, so I have just opened the Excel application, and I'm sharing the Excel workbook, right? Now, let us look at the components of this Excel workbook. What are the things that make up this Excel workbook that is open, being shared on our screens right now? Okay, notice that we have a top menu bar, right, that has customized icons, right? It has new Excel, open new Excel, it has a save, it has undo, redo, and paste, and so on and so forth, right? It also, that's the title bar. It also has a title in the middle of the page, right, where you have book one. This book is titled book one Excel right now because I have not saved this document. I've just opened it. Okay, then by the top right corner, you would find the help Excel, Microsoft Excel help icon, right? The ribbon display options, that's what helps you decide what will display in the ribbons. I'll get to what ribbons are in a minute. Then you would find what's called the window controls. That's minimize, maximize, and close window at the top rightmost corner of your screens. Okay, coming down, you would find there's a file tab, and the rest of the other tabs have special ribbons attached to them. Now, notice the tabs I'm talking about are File, Home, Insert, at the top of the page, Page Layout, Formulas, Data, Review, View, and Acrobat. Now, notice that clicking on each of these tabs would cause the ribbon below the tabs to change. In other words, where you see right now, I'm on the Home tab, you would see the clipboard group. Each of these group of items on the ribbon are called groups. Like this Home tab has the clipboard group, the font group, the alignment group, number group, styles, cells, and editing groups in the Home ribbon. Also, in the insert ribbon that has just come up now, you have the tables group, illustrations groups, and so on and so forth. So under the tabs, you have their respective ribbons and groups, right? So take note of that. Okay, let us assume that I am about to prepare a report in which I need to list a number of people that went for field work and their accommodation expenses in a table and present it. I'll pick names at random from our operations group and run the table. Okay, so I'm supposed to show the number of days worked, employee names, designation, the unit cost at the hotel, or the wherever the accommodation was there. Then the total cost and all that in a table, right? So while at it, we'll just be taking the Excel spreadsheet in bits and see what it is made of. Okay, before we do that, let me give you the anatomy of the Excel worksheet. Now notice that we have down here, right, columns that are lettered in alphabetic order from A to X. Let me do control arrow, right arrow to get to the end of the spreadsheet. The last column to the right is XFT. So from A to XFT, and if I do a control down arrow, I'll get to the bottom of the cell. That's at 1,048,576. 48,576.
Recording in progress.
Sorry?
Please continue, sir. Sorry about that.
Go ahead.
Okay. As I was saying, find that these cells comprise of, and each cell is made up of the intersection of the columns, which are the lettered columns, and the rows numbered 1 to 1 million plus. So each Excel spreadsheet, each sheet that we're seeing has about 17 billion cells in it. And each of these cells are identified by their names in the name box, right? So where my cursor is now, notice under the ribbons, just right under the ribbons, there's a bar there, right? That has a name box as the first select text group of text items there, right? So the name box identifies each of the cells. Like each of the active cells will be listed here. Now I have A1 selected, so you have the name box reflecting A1. Every active cell I select now reflects the name in the name box. So that way we can identify each of the cells on this spreadsheet. You can imagine being able to identify over 17 billion cells on a spreadsheet, being able to pick each one precisely. So Excel gives us a lot of opportunities to do quite a lot of things with these possibilities. Okay, so notice also that at the bottom of the page, you have sheet 1. That's the name of this open sheet we're working with, right? If you click the arrow plus sign by the sheets, there's a tab there with a plus sign, right? You'll notice also this pop-up title that says new sheet. If you click on it, it creates a new sheet and auto names the sheet for you. So here we have sheet 2. Now, all these sheets, no matter how many sheets I add to this sheet one, all these sheets together in Excel form a complete workbook, right? Putting all these sheets together will form a workbook. And each of the sheets as well have their own cells, right? I can identify the cells in sheet one and identify the cells in sheet four. Okay, that said, let's quickly go through other components of Excel. Okay, so while I'm at it, let me start creating the table that I talked about. A number of staff went for field work. Okay, so let's create the table here very quickly. I'll do that by first giving it a heading, say maybe project, right? Department, right? Okay, so I have project and department here. Say PPS. Sorry. Okay. Okay. Then I want to create my table underneath. Serial number, names of the team members, the number of days, unit cost, and the total, subtotal. Okay. All right. Notice the the columns have maintained their size, right? Their sizes. Notice also the unit cost is overlapping here, right? And the serial number, I don't want it to be so large. Meanwhile, I have a heading here. So what do I do? Okay, I want to merge this heading across the top part of the table. Okay, so I'll select the group of cells by left-clicking on the mouse and dragging to highlight the number of cells I want to merge. Then I'll go to my home tab up there, and in the alignment group on the home ribbon, I will choose a merge and center if I want it centered. Okay, it says merging cells only keeps upper left value, right? And the upper left value in this case is project dewatering, right? So it chose only project that I put there, and it has removed dewatering because it's keeping only what's at the left. So how do I correct this? How do I add dewatering after doing the merge? Now, if I want to, I can call this back by doing a Control Z. That's pressing Control button simultaneously. As you're pressing it, you hold it down and press the alphabet Z for zebra, right? It's closest to the control button to the left before the shift button on your keyboard. If you do that, it will repeat, it will undo what you last did. See, the dewatering has come back on Control Z. Now, redoing it, I would want, if I want to redo it, notice on my tabs here, at the topmost part of the window, the Excel window, notice those custom tabs that I put up there, those, sorry, those tabs that have already been customized after the Save tab. The Undo and Redo buttons, they have become active. Initially, they were gray, meaning they were not active. But since I started typing, they have become active. Why? Because, of course, I have started making doing different things that can be undone or redone. So that brought them out. Okay, so merging these cells again, once again, notice the message says whatever is on the upper left corner will overwrite whatever is in the other cells. And I say, okay, now project is there. How do I correct it? Assuming it is, as it is now selected, if I try to type over it, it will disappear, right? So to correct it, you have to double click. Mind you, in the formula bar, the name box is by the left, and if you look to the right, where this text that I want to change, content of the active, mind you, the active cells. Now, why did this merge, right? Going through this range A to E, why is it showing the name box A2 as the selected? Because if you remember in the dialog box, it says, whatever is in the upper left cell, the leftmost cell will carry the value. In other words, A takes precedence here over all the other range of selected cells from being the leftmost cell selected. Okay, back to editing this. How do I edit it? You have to either double click within this cell merge, very quickly double click, or in the name, in the formula bar, I can also double click and make sure the cursor is positioned where I want to make the entry. So I will just type in the watering here, right? Okay, same goes for the department. I want to do a measure quickly. Same thing, and then EPS. Okay. Now I want to work on the table properly, right? Serial number bar, I want to reduce it. Now notice, to reduce the size of the serial number bar, because this will just hold numbers. So there's no need to have an extra large column here. So for us to resize it, just notice that if you click on the column letter, right, it will select the whole column down. Then if you move the cursor to the right, a black cross sign would come up. If you click and hold down your mouse, you can move the whole column size and resize the whole column to whatever size you may want to, right? And when a column is selected, when a range of cells is selected like this, right? Like I just mentioned, it becomes a range, right? So we have single cells and we have ranges. Immediately you select and drag a number of cells together, you create what is called a range. And the range works like this, say A6 through A8 or A6 through G6. So it could be, even selecting the range can take a number of rows and columns too. And anyway, we'll get to referencing and understand better how that works. Okay, so back to my table. Now I want to quickly create a table and put in all the names of the staff and all that. So I'll resize the column B the same way I did serial number column, because the names are going to be a bit longer. I want number of days to be, I don't really need a large column here as well. But the title is overly, is made up of like 2 words, right? But I just need a very tiny column here. So I can wrap this text. Notice also in the home ribbon, we have under alignment group, right? We have wrap text. What it does is it changes the way the text appears in the box. And in a case where this, I resize this, I want to use, say, this size, right? If I click on wrap text, notice it changes the way the text was displayed and rearranges it in such a way that it would just make use of the space that I have made available for that column in C. So to fix this, I can decide to reduce the size of the font, right? By multiple clicking, decrease font size in the font group, right? So still forming my table, same thing applies to unit cost. And then I'll select and centralize everything. Okay, so I want to format the heading of my table, right? So I'm working with the font group. I could decide to make the heading bold. I could decide to float it horizontally. Notice in the alignment group, I can choose the alignment and decide that it should float. In other words, that's what that means. So everything is not listed baseline anymore. Some of them are floating. Okay, so now let me highlight some of the workings of the Excel with ranges. Okay, there's an autofill system that works in Excel, an autofill method, right? It works with patterns. Now I've written the serial numbers 1 to 3. I've typed in 1 to 3 here. Instead of typing on, say maybe 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I can decide to highlight all 3, forming a pattern. Then notice there's an autofill handle, this blue stuff at the base of this selected range is called the autofill handle or the fill handle. Notice that when my cursor gets there, it forms a black cross, a plus sign. If I click on that handle and drag it down, whatever pattern is given will be extended. In other words, 1 to 3 extends to 4, 5, 6. In other words, the pattern is adding 1 to whatever number was in the preceding cell. Why I said this works with patterns is it could be something else. Say maybe serial numbers are okay. Let's say we decide to tag them team members 1 to 10. Say 10, say team team member. Sorry, for space, let's just say member 1, member 2. Okay, you see, autofill is already filling in the this thing. As I put in mem, I was about to type mem 2, it autofilled mem 1, thinking I was going to keep that pattern, mem1, 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 but immediately I typed in 2. It did not repeat the same thing when I was typing in mem3. Okay, so I've established a pattern here. Let me select, and back to the autofill handle, drag down. Notice the same thing happens. It is extending that pattern and increasing the number count by 1. Okay, so back to the numbers. I just did all this with Control Z, right? Back to this stage. Okay, so I have to list like 10 names out. Okay, let's say the team lead, okay, designation. I forgot to put designation in my table. Now, how do I do that? We'll select C column. right? I want to put designation after names. We'll select the column, right-click on the column, and notice the drop-down that has opened, right? Now, I want to insert a column, right? And notice it has listed quite a lot of shortcut options for me, actions, actually, action buttons to choose from, right? These are typically the operations that you can perform with a selected column. Those are the things that have been listed here for me. So right now, I want to do an insertion of a new column. Now notice that the new column that I inserted by clicking on insert is the same size with the next left column, following the selection I did, right, on C. So it's the same size. And also notice it did not change our initial headings, right? It extended the measure that I had done. It didn't change that. And also every other cell, every other column, sorry, maintained their features, right? Okay, so let's go ahead. Designation for time. Designation. Okay, notice the properties of this column B were passed to column C that was just created. In other words, as I typed in designation, it made it bold, same size, and centralized it. All the features that I had engaged in column B were transferred or inherited by column C. Okay, let's move on. We'll need some of that knowledge later. Okay, so I've just added a new column, and now I want to present this more like a table. So let me rule the heading, create a box. Okay, I just highlighted the table heading. So quickly, let's type the names out. Happy, sorry, happy designation team lead, for instance. Number of days spent 7, unit cost 15,000, right? I could go ahead to manually do 7 times 15 for him and all that, but I wouldn't do that. I would prefer Excel to automatically do the calculation and sums and all that for me. Okay, so second person is Bernard, operator, spent 6 days, did 15,000 room. And yeah, Gashi, HSC officer, 6 days. Yeah. We have Uche, any of Uche, autofill, okay? We spent 5 days in facility. Okay, notice also Excel is jumping to the names box automatically now. Once I just press enter after putting 15, it doesn't go to subtotal anymore, it just jumps to. So it picks your patterns and follows them as you work. Okay, so we have Felix. Went to this. Not bothering to type the amount anymore. Brings the right 26 or 17. Okay. Now let's say the range is okay. I could decide to just drag this down using the autofill handle, right? And it will just automatically paste the same value down the line, right? Okay, so let's format this, align them properly, okay? Align it on. But for values, usually we use, let me take you to the number group controls. Okay, so to work with numbers, notice here, there's a number group in this home ribbon that we're going to apply here. First, I want these numbers to show decimals because we're talking about money. So I'm going to select the unit cost and subtotal that is talking about money and click on the comma style to automatically format these numbers in there to operate as numbers, numeric values, right? If I click this, notice it, by default, it has put 2 decimal places there for me on all the values, right? And also it has changed the alignment, automatically pushing the last figure to the right side, aligning right for currency. Notice also other controls up here. There's an arrow pointing to an icon with an arrow pointing to the left and another icon with an arrow pointing to the right. Each of them increase or decrease the number of decimal places that we want this value in the table to have. So we can decide to use 3 decimal places. We can decide to use just 1 decimal places. In each case, Excel will sum to the approximate value. In other words, if this is 0.5, for instance, 50 kobo, right? And I decide to decrease the decimal, automatically Excel will approximate the value when that decimal is not there to 1 using approximation. Meanwhile, the actual value, if you look at the formula bar, is 15,050 kobo. But because of the decreased decimal, it has changed to 15,001. So it has approximated the value. So where the decimals are lacking, Excel automatically approximates and gives you the approximate value. Okay, so moving on, I have formatted this range of cells from E6 down to E13 and F6 down to F13 to work as accounting values because I clicked on the comma style, and also to use 2 decimal places in the calculations. Okay, so now I want to fill in the subtotal. I want Excel to use what we call cell referencing to do a summation and give me the value. Now, there are different types of references. There's a relative reference, which is the one we're going to do right now. And there's what we call a an absolute reference, okay? So in this case, we're going to do a relative reference. In other words, I'm going to say, Excel, sum up the values in cell so and cell so, and give me the total, or multiply this to this and give me the total. So for now, we're doing the multiplication of the number of days times the unit cost per day at the hotel or per night, right, to get the subtotal for each person. So here I will do the program and say, Excel, go ahead and do a multiplication for all the values that follow from row 6, cell D, row 6, that's D6, multiplied with E6, and the value or the product will be displayed in F6, right? Okay, so to engage or to start a formula is triggered by using the equals key. You click on the equals key to start a formula. Notice I selected the cell that I want to put that formula in. I made sure my cursor has selected that cell, and the cell I want to put the formula in is the active cell in the name box. Mind you, the active cell should be displayed in the name box. Whatever you put in the formula bar will reside in this active cell that is named here. So I want to put this formula in F6. I'm going to type it out as thus, equals, as I've clicked on the equal P on the keyboard, it has triggered the automation or formula bar in that cell, right? So in this case, I want to get the product of two cells. So I'm going to reference them. In this case, number of days for number one person here, the team lead, is 7. So I'll just click on 7. Meanwhile, my active cell is still active. Notice up here in the formula bar, it has automatically placed D6 there, right? And on my keyboard, I will click on the asterisk, which is the multiplication sign in Excel, right? Asterisk. Then with my cursor again, right, with my mouse, I will pick the next cell that I want to multiply the value in that reference cell. I'm referencing the next one, right, which is E6, like I said. Then I would press enter. Automatically, the value of the product of those two cells has been published in, has been displayed in F6. Now, this is called relative cell referencing, right? It is relative because it changes. If I click on F6, right, and go to the fill handle, like I had said earlier, and with the plus sign showing, I drag it down, click and drag it down. Automatically, notice that it has done the same referencing. It has copied those cell references from F6, right? And has extended that pattern through all the cells in the range I selected, being F7 to F14. And it has given me the product of each of the values in the relative referenced cells, right? D7 to 13 and E7 to 13. Okay, so that said, notice it has automatically given me the products here, right? So I want to get the sum. I want to add all this up so I know how much the hotel is supposed to be paid. Okay, so I'm going to do the summation down here. Secondly, we can see that maximum the state was for 7 days. Okay, so let's just do the total. Now at the bottom, say, let me remove these numbers, let me number that again. Okay, at the bottom of the table, I'll just quickly say total. And I move the active cell to the cell where I want to sum it up. Another way of doing this is to select this range of cells and merge them. So total just comes with its own full label on that whole row. Right? Then I would come to my font group again from my borders button, and I'll choose summation border. That's in our accounting practice here, we usually use cross lines, top and bottom, to display summations. Okay, so that done, I've just crossed this cell up top and bottom with single and double lines to show that it is where the total will be displayed. Okay, so I'm going to use a method now. Because of the need to sum things up, it's so reoccurring, it's so frequent. Excel has an auto sum button placed in the editing group up here, right? For that to work, I would just go on and select the range I want to sum up and sum it up. Here again, another way to do it is to use the equal sign and type sum. Now notice automatically a lot of formulas that are used oftentimes will be displayed in that active cell. Now that I have typed the first 3 characters, even from the first character of the operation I want to do here, notice Excel is listing so many methods for me. All these are programmed methods already programmed inside Excel because they are frequently used and they are fixed operations. So it's already there. Okay, so I want to sum this range up, right? I want to sum the totals from team lead to the last person under subtotals table only. So I've typed in sum. To get this to work, you need to put brackets, open brackets, then the number range will come in, right? I can select the range by just using the mouse to click from top to bottom, dragging down directly, right? Notice it has put in the range for me, F6 semicolon F13. What this translates to in English is sum up cells in this range from F6 to F13, right? Notice it has given us the sum automatically. I'm going to format this further, change from the number group, from accounting to maybe currency, so I can, yeah, okay, so it's already in Naira, right? So let everything that is Naira be Naira here. So notice from, right, the number group, right, from this number format drop down, right, I can select currency, one hand, Naira sign and everything. So my table is already beginning to look good. Okay, so I can select all this and go to the font again, borders, highlight it. Now it's has come out as a full table. Okay, so Let's look at other important controls that we need to understand. Okay, I mentioned relative referencing. In this case, D6 and E6 were referenced here, right? Now, assuming we wanted to get the dollar value, for instance, assuming they are abroad and we have an exchange rate value to work with, and we put the rate up here, say 1.5, right? That's the rate. Okay, let's make this currency decimal. Okay, so I want to get a new value here for everybody. Okay, so this is the rate. Let me take the rate to the other side. Now to move rate, I want to move rate out of here and put it next to the amount, right? So that I can use this to say, let's just say Forex. It may not just be Forex value, right? Forex value, okay? I'm going to use this to demonstrate another type of reference. In this case, I want to say whatever is summed up, right? Divided by what is in the rate, H5, right? Should be listed here. In other words, this is $70. If I try to copy this down, notice it's giving me errors, right? This is another good opportunity for me to point out something. Please, when you see this, don't get scared, right? It is a way that Excel tells you that something is wrong, right? Just there are ways to go about it. You can Control Z to get out of it smoothly. You can also pick each of the cells and try to find where the errors are and fix them. Okay, so notice this reference, right, is relative. So each time I try to copy, notice the value by the left moved, but the one by the right is also moving down. Instead, I want it to pick the rate at the top of the table. How do we do that? We can achieve this by adding a dollar sign in the initial cell where we put the first formula. If I add a dollar sign here, boom, what happens? When we drag down, sorry, dollar sign here, dollar sign, yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Divided by dollar sign. giving me a challenge here. I'll check this and see why. Okay, there are so many ways that I can get this done. I can decide to copy down and correct all the errors by just moving the cursor to moving the formula components to where I want it to sum. Okay, so I want this done very quickly. We're out of time, but next time I think we'll play with that one a bit. Okay, so and I'll just drag this down to sum this up as well. So, and this is in dollars, not naira. So to change this currency sign, right? How do we do this? I can open up the format cells dialog box and change the symbol to dollar. Or if I like to USD typed out, that's a Chinese dollar. Anyway, I can use USD. I can type it out and to take me there on the fly. Okay, so USD. Boom. Okay, so that said, what else? Okay, so let me also highlight, notice on your page, you can decide to work with these values. In the next lesson, maybe we're going to use graphs to report this. Who spent the highest number of days, spent the least number of days, and all that, and use that to prepare a report. For now, in summary, remember Excel is really easy to use. All you need to do is know its workings. Don't be afraid when you find an error, you can fix it. And there's really no limit with what we can do when we're working on spreadsheets with Excel. Makes life so easy. So it's about time we're rounding up. Thank you very much for attending this training. Hopefully, the next training, maybe I'll ask for more time. So I'll try to take each of the Excel topics and really take them in critical bits and tear everything to pieces so we can understand every single how Excel works, every single bit of the workings of Excel, and know how to apply it to our everyday life, our reporting and all that. I know we use Excel a lot, especially in preparing tabular reports and stuff. So hopefully in the next training, I think we'll do much more than we have done today. So from every one of you out there, if you have any questions, please let's quickly do an interactive. Any questions? Hello?
Yes, I have a question, Mr. Mike.
Yeah, please, fire.
Please, can you do it again? How you convert this naira to dollars? Can you do it again? Let me see.
Oh, okay, naira to dollar, very quickly. Let me show you. Okay, so just click on the box you want to change. I can decide to change this range. I didn't do this once earlier, right? I said go to the number group. Yeah? right? Click on the number format drop down, right? And see down here, more number formula, format cells, the dialog box opens, right? Then I can decide, since it's currency now, I'll choose currency, right? Then notice symbol is one of the options there. I'll click the drop down, right? Then type US if I want dollar. And there are a lot of other dollar symbols there for different countries, but I chose this one because of time, for brevity. I just ran quick to pick down. If not, there are dollar signs. US dollar is there. See other dollar signs here. English United States. I can decide to use this one instead of typing that USD out, right? So have you gotten it now, Mr. Obina?
Yes, I'm listening. Go ahead.
Okay, so that's how I convert. This time I've put the dollar sign. Any other question, please? Okay, so I think we're rounding up now. It's 11 o'clock. So thank you very much for attending. Hopefully in the next series, I think we'll do much more than we have.
How many times would you flash different places you select it?
Sorry?
There's only almost photograph of Trump.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
So can we go now?
Yeah, we're done. Thanks.
Okay.